A sharp scream tore through the hallway before Lena Quinn even saw the blood. The hospital lights flickered overhead as she sprinted toward the emergency room doors, her heart pounding against her ribs. A nurse rushed past her pushing a cart, and the scent of antiseptic mixed with fear. Lena's breath caught when she turned the corner and saw her younger brother Ryan lying pale on a stretcher, tubes in his arms, a mask on his face. His eyes fluttered weakly and he looked far too still. "Mom, you can't be here," a doctor said, blocking her path. "That's my brother. Please tell me he's okay," Lena begged, gripping his sleeve like it was her lifeline. "His condition is critical. The surgery he needs isn't optional. And the bills—" The doctor stopped when he saw the panic rising in her eyes. "We'll do everything we can, but you must settle the pending fees. They're in the millions." Millions. That number hit her like a blow to the chest. She had barely managed the last set of bills. Her savings were gone, her job was barely paying enough for daily survival, and every family member she had was already drowning in debt. "Please save him," Lena whispered. "I'll find a way, just save him." The doctor nodded and hurried away. Lena slid down the wall, clutching her shaking hands. She had nothing left to sell, nothing left to pawn, nothing left to beg for. Then her phone vibrated. A message from a number she had only seen once, attached to a business card slipped into her hand by a man with cold grey eyes. "If you decide you want my offer, call me." Lena had brushed it off. Men like him didn't make normal offers. Men like him didn't soften or pity. But right now she was out of choices. Her thumb hovered, her eyes closed. She pressed call. A deep voice answered immediately. "Lena Quinn." She froze. "You? Remember me?" "When I decide something," the man said evenly, "I remember everything. I assume you're calling because you've made your decision." Lena swallowed hard. "I'll do it. Whatever your offer was, I'll take it." "Good. My driver will pick you up in 10 minutes. The line went dead before she could breathe. 10 minutes later, a black car pulled up outside the hospital. The door opened and a smooth voice spoke from inside. "Get in." Lena hesitated only a second before sliding into the leather interior. The man sitting across from her looked exactly as she remembered. Sharp jaw, storm grey eyes, expensive suit molded perfectly to his frame. Adrian Voss looked like someone who had never known fear. He studied her carefully. "Your brother's condition is unfortunate." Her stomach twisted. How did he know? "But convenient," Adrian continued. "It gives you reason to accept my terms without hesitation." "What exactly are your terms?" Lena whispered. Adrian handed her a sleek folder. Inside was a contract, a marriage contract. "You marry me for 1 year," he said. "You attend events with me. You smile when cameras appear. You appear the perfect wife, loyal, elegant, drama-free." Lena lifted her eyes. "Why me?" "Because my parents are forcing a fiancé on me. A gold digger, to be precise. I need a wife they cannot argue with. One who has no interest in my money. One who knows her place." Her cheeks burned, but she forced the humiliation down. "And after a year, we divorce, cleanly, quietly. You get the money you need for your brother. No strings attached." Lena looked at the contract again, hands trembling. Everything inside her screamed that this was wrong, dangerous, something that would change her forever. But Ryan's face, pale and weak, rose in her mind. She signed. Adrian's expression didn't change, not even a flicker. He simply closed the folder and tapped the car window once. The car began to move. "No. You will move into my penthouse today," he said. "Your brother's bills will be paid in full by tonight." She stared at him, breathless. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," Adrian replied, his voice cool as ice. "This is a transaction, nothing more." But later that night, standing in a penthouse of glass and gold, Lena realized that business deals didn't usually make her heart race whenever their eyes met, and marriages, contracted or not, weren't supposed to make her wonder what the man beside her was hiding behind the silence he wore like armor. Their first public appearance was a charity gala. Cameras flashed as Adrian guided her with a hand on her waist. The world saw a perfect couple. No one saw her nerves trembling beneath her dress or the way Adrian's grip tightened possessively whenever someone looked at her for too long. Weeks passed, then months. Somewhere between shared breakfasts, forced smiles, and whispered instructions on how to survive high society, something unexpected began to grow, something fragile, dangerous, and warm. Lena tried to stop it. But every time Adrian brushed a strand of hair from her face, every time he held her after a long day, every time his voice softened just for her, she fell deeper. And Adrian, the man with no heart, began to change too. He no longer kept his distance. He lingered. He touched. He kissed her like she mattered. She started to believe he cared, until the night everything shattered. Their 1-year contract ended on a quiet, rainy evening. Lena wanted to tell him she was pregnant, that they weren't two anymore, that something precious had come from their impossible deal. But when she walked into his office, Adrian didn't look up. He slid an envelope across the table. "Your contract is over," he said. "This is your divorce." Her body went cold. "Adrian, I need to tell you something." "No." His voice was final. "We had an agreement. Don't complicate it. Leave before midnight." Her throat closed. Did I mean nothing to you?" Adrian's jaw twitched once, but his eyes stayed empty. "We signed a contract, Lena. Nothing more." Something inside her broke. Before dawn, she left everything behind, rings, clothes, memories, and ran. Her hands rested protectively over her stomach, as she whispered to the child inside her, "I won't let you ever feel unwanted." 3 years later, Lena stood in the lobby of Voss Enterprises, older, stronger, holding her job ID as a new senior architect. Her heart was steady. Until the elevator doors opened, and Adrian Voss walked out. His grey eyes found hers instantly, and the world stopped. He looked richer, harder, colder. But one thing he didn't expect was the little boy waiting for her after work. A little boy with soft black hair, tiny hands, and storm grey eyes identical to Adrian's. And the moment Adrian saw the child, something explosive cracked behind his gaze. Lena felt the air shift, heavy and dangerous. Adrian Voss, never lost. And now he wanted answers. Adrian didn't move at first. He just stared at Lena like she was a ghost he wasn't prepared to see. 3 years had carved sharpness into his features, but now cracks began forming, cracks he couldn't hide. "Lena," he said, voice low, dangerous. Her pulse stumbled. She hadn't heard that voice in 3 long years. She thought she had trained herself not to react to it. She was wrong. "Mr. Voss," she replied, keeping her tone steady. "I'm here to meet the project director." "Ito, cancel it," Adrian said immediately. "I can't. It's my first day." Adrian stepped closer, invading her space so naturally that her breath hitched. "You don't walk back into my company without telling me." "It wasn't your company when I applied," she shot back. Adrian's eyes darkened. "Everything connected to you becomes my concern." Before she could respond, tiny footsteps echoed from behind her. "Mummy!" Lena's heart dropped. Her son, Evan, ran toward her with his little backpack bouncing and his smile wide. He didn't notice Adrian standing there, didn't notice the tension choking the air. Lena bent down and scooped him up. "Hey, baby. Why aren't you with Aunt May?" "She let me see where you work." Evan grinned and pointed around. "This building is huge." Adrian's eyes locked on the boy. His boy. Storm-grey eyes in a small face. The same dimple when he half smiled, the same stubborn jawline that Adrian himself carried into every boardroom. Lena felt the ground tilt beneath her. "Who is he?" Adrian asked. His voice was now a blade wrapped in ice. Lena held Evan closer. "Adrian, not here." "Who is he?" Each word cut deeper than the last. Evan blinked at the stranger staring at him. "Mommy, who's that man?" Lena's heart squeezed painfully. She stood, placing herself between them. "He's no one, sweetheart. Let's go." Adrian grabbed her wrist before she could turn. His grip wasn't painful, but it carried every suppressed emotion he had buried for 3 years. "Don't lie to me," he whispered, his breath shaking with a fury she had never seen in him. "Is he mine?" Lena swallowed hard. "Let go, Adrian." "You walked out before I even—" He stopped himself, voice cracking for the first time since she'd known him. "You left without giving me a chance to know anything." "You didn't want to know." Her voice trembled. "You handed me a divorce and told me to disappear." Adrian flinched, actually flinched. Evan tugged on her sleeve, confused. "Mummy, can we go home?" Lena forced a smile for her son. "Yes, sweetheart. Yes, we can." Adrian stepped in front of them, blocking the exit. "You're not leaving with him." Lena froze. "Move." "I need answers," Adrian said. "Now." "And I need to get my son home," Lena replied sharply. "You had a year to care. You didn't. You lost the right to demand anything." Adrian's jaw clenched hard enough to crack, but he stepped aside. "For now," he said. The warning in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. She hurried past him, holding Evan close, refusing to look back. But Adrian did look back. He watched the woman he once let slip through his fingers, now holding the child he didn't know he had. His empire suddenly felt too small, his power suddenly meaningless, his breath suddenly shallow. He needed the truth. And he would get it. Lena tried to calm down as she set Evan in his car seat. Her hands shook as she buckled him in. He hummed to himself, oblivious to the storm she was drowning in. She loved him for that innocence. She wanted him to stay untouched by the world that had broken her. But Adrian had seen him. Everything she had feared was now real. Evan looked up at her with those grey eyes, eyes she loved and hated at the same time, because they reminded her of a man who had once given her hope only to destroy her with a single contract-ending sentence. "Mummy," Evan whispered. "Are you sad?" Lena blinked fast. "No, baby, I'm okay." Evan reached out and pressed his tiny hand to her cheek. "Don't cry. I'll protect you." Her chest tightened painfully. "I know you will, sweetheart." She kissed his forehead, closed the door gently, and leaned against the car for a moment, breathing the cold evening air. She had promised herself Adrian would never know. She had promised Evan would grow up free of the man who broke her heart. But fate didn't care about promises, and Adrian Voss was coming. Back at Voss Enterprises, Adrian stood in the empty hallway long after Lena left. His assistant approached nervously. "Sir, the board is waiting for—" "Cancel everything," Adrian said without looking away from the doors Lena had disappeared through. "But sir—" Adrian finally turned, eyes sharp with a storm that could tear the world apart. "I said cancel everything." The assistant rushed away. Adrian closed his eyes, replaying every detail of the little boy, the hair, the eyes, the shape of his small hands. He didn't need a DNA test. He knew. Lena had carried his child for 9 months. She had raised him for 3 years. She had cried alone, and he had never known. A rage he had never felt before burned through him, not at her, but at himself, at the man he had been, at the choices he made. He whispered the name in the empty hall. Evan. A name he should have been the first to hear, the first to speak. Someone would pay for keeping them apart. Even if that someone was himself. But first Lena. He needed to see her again, needed to hear her voice without the walls she had built, needed to know why she left with his child, and what he needed. Adrian Voss always got. He grabbed his phone. "Find out where Lena Quinn lives," he ordered his security team. There was nothing calm in his tone, nothing businesslike. For the first time in his life, Adrian's control was slipping. And he didn't care. Because the woman he lost, and the son he never knew existed, were no longer running. He was coming for them. No contract, no rules, no boundaries. Nothing would stop him. Lena didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Adrian's face when he looked at Evan. Shock, fury, betrayal, something raw and aching beneath it all. She tried to push it away, but her mind kept replaying it until her chest felt tight. Evan slept soundly curled against her side, one hand on her arm like he always did. She brushed her fingers through his hair, her heart warming and breaking at the same time. She had done everything to protect him. And now Adrian knew. She couldn't stop what was coming. Adrian didn't sleep either. He stood in the center of his penthouse office, staring at the skyline he once thought he owned. Lights glowed in the distance, but none of them gave him clarity. Every hour, his mind replayed the moment he saw Evan. Every detail carved itself into him like a permanent mark. His son. His son. The words tasted foreign and familiar at the same time. At dawn, his head of security called. "We found where she lives." Evan clung to Adrian with innocent trust, his tiny arms wrapped around a man he hadn't known existed until this moment. Adrian didn't try to hide the tears that finally broke through. His shoulders trembled with quiet, controlled breaths, the kind of emotion he had never allowed himself to feel, not in public, not in private, not even in silence. He had missed Evan's first steps, his first words, his first laugh. 3 years of milestones gone. And Adrian held his son tighter, like he could somehow gather back all the lost pieces. Evan pulled back, his small hands on Adrian's cheeks. "Why are you crying?" Adrian gave a shaky breath. "Because you're the best thing I've ever seen." Evan smiled a little, confused but happy. "Do you want to see my toys?" Adrian nodded. More than anything. Evan ran to his room, excited. Adrian stayed kneeling for a moment, trying to compose himself. Lena watched him carefully, her heart twisting in ways she wished she could control. She had seen Adrian powerful, furious, cold, intimidating, but never vulnerable, never like this. When he finally stood, his voice was low. "You raised him well." Lena swallowed, her voice softening without her permission. "I tried." "You did more than try," Adrian whispered. "You gave him everything I couldn't." Lena looked away. Adrian stepped closer, not touching her, but close enough to feel the storm of emotions radiating from him. "You should have told me," he said quietly, "but I understand why you didn't." Lena shook her head, pain tightening her chest. "You think you do, but you don't." "Then help me understand." His sincerity caught her off guard. But before she could answer, Evan returned, holding 2 toy cars. "Adrian, look." Adrian's eyes softened instantly. "Wow, they're very fast-looking." Evan beamed. "Do you know how to play?" Adrian hesitated. "I can try." Evan giggled. "You're funny." Adrian sank onto the living room floor, expensive suit and all, letting Evan show him how to race toy cars along the wooden boards. Lena watched them from the kitchen doorway, her hand covering her trembling mouth. "Adrian." Ruthless, untouchable Adrian was crawling on the floor making quiet engine sounds while Evan squealed with delight. And in that instant, she saw the man he could have been. The father he wanted to be. The partner he might still become. Her chest tightened painfully. Evan crashed his car into Adrian's. "I win." Adrian laughed softly. "You definitely do." When it was time for Evan's nap, Lena carried him to his room. Adrian followed, standing at the doorway, watching as Evan curled up with his stuffed bear. "Good night, Evan," Adrian whispered. Evan's sleepy voice drifted out. "Good night, Daddy." Adrian nearly staggered. When the door closed, he leaned against the wall, breathing deeply. Lena stood across from him, arms folded, not trusting the storm inside her. Adrian finally spoke. "We need to talk." Lena nodded. "Living room." They sat opposite each other, though every instinct in Adrian wanted to close the distance between them. Lena took a slow breath. "You want answers. I'll give them, but don't expect them to make things easier." "I don't want easy," Adrian murmured. "I want truth." She exhaled. "The night you gave me the divorce papers," Lena began, "I had planned to tell you I was pregnant." Adrian flinched, guilt choking him. "But then you told me not to complicate things. You told me our year was done and that I should leave." Adrian squeezed his eyes shut. "I was afraid." "I know," she said bitterly. I felt it. But I also loved you. I thought you felt something too. I was wrong." "You weren't wrong," Adrian whispered, eyes burning. "I did feel something too much." Lena shook her head. "Then why push me away?" "Because you weren't supposed to matter." His voice cracked. "You weren't supposed to be the one thing I couldn't control." Lena looked away quickly to hide the pain flickering through her eyes. "I told myself it was better to end it cleanly," Adrian continued, "before feelings complicated everything." "And look how well that turned out," she murmured. Adrian's jaw tightened. "Lena, I'm sorry." Her breath caught. Not because he apologized. She never expected that, but because of how much it sounded like it hurt him to say it. "Sorry doesn't give Evan his first 3 years with you," she said softly. "Sorry doesn't erase the nights I cried alone, wondering why I wasn't enough." Adrian's composure cracked for the second time that day. "You were enough," he whispered fiercely. "You were more than enough. I was the one who wasn't." Silence filled the room. Heavy, emotional, raw. Lena blinked away tears. "Adrian, what do you want from me?" He didn't hesitate. "I want time with my son, real time. I want to be in his life, every day." "I won't let you take him," she warned, her voice trembling with fear. Adrian leaned forward, his voice low and desperate. "I'm not here to take him from you. I'm here to fight for him, with you." Lena stared at him, stunned. "And," he continued softly, "I want another chance with you." Her breath hitched. "Adrian." "I know you don't trust me," he said. "I know I broke you. But I'm not that man anymore, Lena. Losing you changed me. Not knowing my son changed me. Seeing him, hearing him call me Daddy." His eyes glistened again. "I can't go back to a life without him, or without you." She shook her head, tears streaming. "You can't just walk back in and rewrite the past." "No," Adrian said gently, "but I can rewrite our future." She covered her face with her hands. "I don't know if I can risk my heart again." Adrian moved, not touching her, but sitting closer, close enough for her to feel his presence. "Then let me prove myself," he whispered. "Let me earn it." Lena's chest ached. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to fall into him, but she remembered how deeply she had shattered the last time. "I'll think about it," she finally said. Adrian nodded, relief flooding him. "That's all I'm asking." He stood to leave, but stopped at the door, his voice softened like moonlight. "Lena, I'm not letting you slip away again." Not you. Not him. When the door closed behind him, Lena sank onto the couch, shaking. Because part of her, or a dangerous, hopeful part, wanted exactly the same thing. But she didn't know yet that Adrian wasn't the only one who wanted her back. And someone else was watching. Waiting. Ready to destroy everything. The next day, everything felt different. Lena tried to go about her morning routine as if nothing had changed, but everything had. Adrian's presence lingered in every corner of her apartment, in the silence, in her heartbeat, in the way Evan kept asking questions. "Mommy, is Daddy coming back?" Lena knelt beside him. "Do you want him to?" Evan nodded immediately. "He's nice." Tears burned her eyes. "Yes, he is." Nice wasn't the word she would have used years ago. But yesterday, watching him sit in the floor with toy cars, watching him whisper, "Good night, son," something inside her had cracked open again. Something she had buried. Meanwhile, Adrian walked into his company like a man reborn, and a man ready for war. His assistant stumbled when she saw the expression on his face. "Sir, there are calls you need to return." "Cancel everything today," Adrian said. "But sir..." "I said everything. Yes, Mr. Voss." He didn't explain. He didn't have to. He had a new priority, a new purpose, a new fire in his veins that made every business deal feel insignificant. By noon, he was standing in a toy store, staring helplessly at rows of children's items he had no idea how to choose from. A young employee approached timidly. Sir, do you need help choosing something?" Adrian cleared his throat. "Yes, for a 3-year-old boy." The employee smiled knowingly. "Your son?" Adrian froze. "My son." Those words felt like a miracle every time. "Yes," Adrian said quietly. "My son." The employee helped him pick out toys, books, clothes, things Adrian would have never dared choose alone. When Adrian left, his car was full of items he wasn't sure Evan even needed. He only cared about one thing. Evan would know he mattered. By evening, Lena was preparing dinner when someone knocked. Her heart skipped. She opened the door to Adrian holding 2 bags filled to the brim, his expression caught between pride, fear, and hope. "I brought some things," he said. "Some?" Lena asked, raising an eyebrow. Adrian cleared his throat. "I might have bought the store." Before she could respond, Evan ran out. "Daddy!" Adrian froze again. Every time Evan said the word, he looked like it punched a hole straight through him. Evan hugged Adrian's leg. Adrian's hand trembled as he rested it on his son's hair. "I brought you something," Adrian said, opening the first bag. Evan's eyes widened with pure joy. "Cars." Adrian nodded, smiling softly. "I thought you might like them." Evan grabbed the bag and ran inside to examine his new treasures. Lena crossed her arms. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," Adrian said, "but I wanted to." She studied him. He wasn't trying to impress her. He wasn't buying his way into Evan's life. He was simply trying. Trying in a way he never had before. "Stay for dinner," she said before she could stop herself. Adrian looked stunned. "Are you sure?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." It felt strange. It felt right. It felt like something she shouldn't want, but did anyway. Adrian helped Evan wash his hands. He listened to him talk about cartoons and crayons. He cut the vegetables while Lena cooked. He set the table. He asked questions, small ones, gentle ones, about Evan's routines and favourite foods. And every time Evan laughed, Adrian looked like he was absorbing the sound into his bones. During dinner, Evan babbled non-stop. Adrian listened like each word mattered more than corporate mergers and empires. At one point, Evan said, "Daddy, can you stay here every day?" And Lena's heart nearly collapsed. Adrian swallowed hard. "If your mummy lets me." Lena froze. Evan blinked. Mommy? Can he? Lena didn't answer. She couldn't. After dinner, Evan fell asleep on the couch, toy car in his hand. Adrian carried him to his room carefully, gently, holding him like he was something priceless. When he returned to the living room, Lena stood waiting. Adrian didn't speak. Neither did she. Silence hummed between them, thick with everything unsaid. Finally, Adrian stepped closer. Lena, talk to me. Her voice wavered. I'm scared. So am I, he whispered. Lena blinked. Adrian Voss, billionaire, ruthless, untouchable, was scared. Tell me what you're scared of, he said softly. Loving you again, she confessed, and losing myself the way I did before. Adrian reached out slowly, giving her time to stop him. She didn't. His fingers brushed her cheek, a touch she had missed more than she wanted to admit. You won't lose yourself, he murmured. Not this time. I promise you, I will spend the rest of my life making up for everything I destroyed. Her breath trembled. Adrian? He leaned close, his forehead resting against hers. Let me prove I can be the man you deserved all those years ago. Her eyes closed. And if you still can't love me, Adrian whispered, I will accept it, but I will never stop loving you. Her heart shattered, this time in the most dangerous, beautiful way. Because she already knew the truth. She still loved him. She always had. Her voice trembled as she whispered, I don't know how to start again. Adrian lifted her chin gently. Then we'll learn together. He kissed her. Soft at first, careful, afraid to break her again. She melted. The kiss deepened, slow, aching, filled with years of regret and longing. Adrian held her like she was something delicate, yet irreplaceable. And Lena kissed him back, her fingers gripping his shirt, her heart pounding, remembering everything they had been and everything they could become. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, Adrian rested his forehead on hers again. We'll take it one day at a time, he whispered. Lena nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. And Adrian kissed them away. Weeks passed. Adrian became part of their lives. Slowly, gently, consistently. He picked Evan up from school. He helped with breakfast. He learned bedtime stories and how to braid hair on Evan's teddy bear because Evan insisted, Daddy needs to know in case I get a sister someday. Lena laughed more. Adrian smiled more. Evan lived louder. And the three of them moved forward step by step, stitching together the family fate had tried to tear apart. Not perfect. Not painless, but real, and real was enough. One evening, as they sat together watching Evan draw pictures, Adrian took Lena's hand. No more contracts, he whispered. Just us. And Lena finally believed him. If you enjoyed this emotional journey, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video so more people can experience this story with you. Your support keeps the love, drama, and twists coming.